Welcome back, everybody. Streaming Rainbow. I'm David Robles. We're getting wild here. We usually call this End of the Rainbow. Bastion correctly pointed out, is it? Middle of the rainbow, maybe? Maybe we'll call this like, what is it? What's that one? Prismatic spray.
Color spray.
Color spray. Yeah, here we are. So just get the non-fun stuff out of the way first. Kind of had cut the season short a little bit. Had some personal stuff come up, and I wanted to bring that up only because, not to bum anybody out, because that's sort of shows the point of why we did this, right? If this was like my channel and I was doing this, I would be shit out of luck because real life got in the fucking way. But now, my very cool collective partners, Sarah, Lara, and Cam, who's not with us, but always in spirit, and 100% on the Discord, which is a link you should click at the bottom.
Go talk to him and all of us, please. Discord.
Also, follow us on TikTok, and you'll see tons of Cam.
Only Cam. You will only see Cam on TikTok.
You're only Cam.
So,
I was gonna say there's a joke there.
Sometimes me. But
yeah. TikTok Cam. But no, my fellow DMs are gonna. Cam's running something real cool. Cam is a grad, or fairly recent graduate student in acting, right?
Yeah, theater.
Yeah, theater. So, as you would imagine, it is very intricate. I don't even know if that's the right way to. But it is compelling, interesting, truly something I've never seen before, and I'm very excited to see how he pulls it off and how the wonderful players at the table, who I believe Courtney is also jumping in again.
Not getting rid of me, fuckers.
Yeah. So yeah, they'll be running that, and so that's sort of the reason. If you feel like, wow, that was an abrupt end, well, I thought the same thing. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay.
I just have to say, let me say before we move on, what a fucking cliffhanger. That's a great place to pause.
Well, that's a good segue, right? Because my first question for you all is like biggest takeaway. What's the big picture? If you were like, I gotta describe this in like 2 sentences, how I felt about it, and like what was the what? Because so for me, again, big element. I'll give you guys time to think about this as I ramble for a few minutes. As a first time DM, it was intense. Yeah, and so it was just like I felt like a ton of pressure. And I'm the kind of person who puts a huge amount of pressure on myself no matter what. And so I would have obviously felt a lot of that at my local game store or at the kitchen table. But there was just a little bit extra of like, oh man, this is going to be on the internet potentially forever. And so, yeah, it was just a real, and then also with the horror genre, it's something that is like very hard to do, I feel, in RPGs because of the nature of horror. So there was like a bit of a try to understand an old genre in a new medium, Yeah, and then whoever wants to go. So what's your
Sarah?
Wow.
You first.
We're gonna go in.
We're just picking people now.
No, she's next.
Roll initiative, everybody.
Teacher did not say this is popcorn reading. All right, I don't.
I know, right? I'm very organized.
Sure, if you would like, Sarah.
If it pleases you.
Oh gosh, my big thing is how much I'm enjoying playing Kruntle, because it's funny because I created him without a personality at first. I just like gave him a history and didn't really know what his personality would be like, and then jumped into him, and he's a sassy little guy and I love him. So it's just fun to play.
Yeah,
So
it
please
felt
forgive me that, Jan.
with Kruntel, it was an interesting contrast, right, to Bastion and Patience's characters, Bastion and Courtney's characters, Patience and Oddwood, were fully fleshed, down to like minute details almost, with like detailed histories over the last few years, right? And Sarah was like, he's just a cool little guy. He's got a weird problem. He's trying to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And he likes to nick stuff. But that's what's like so fucking cool about RPGs, right? Tabletop RPGs, right? Is those characters, starting from vastly different philosophies, have fully fleshed out in ways that is like just as compelling. I can't tell you the pause that I took before spoilers. Kruntel got his hands chopped off. We're like, I can't do this to my most lovable character. This is quite probably the most lovable character in this party, and I'm about to chop their fucking hands off. I'm a monster.
You had like a physical reaction of dread. Like you had your head in your hands, and then you resigned yourself to it. And I was like, oh,
I mean,
no.
he fucked around and he found out.
He did.
But that was cool because me and Sarah talked about it afterwards. Everybody's cool. There's no hurt feces.
We all, I mean, I know I had a very like stomach churning, like fuck reaction to that too.
Yeah.
That was a very good moment.
So I was like, it's on, let's go. Horror has shown up.
Cool. Yeah. We got there finally. Laura, what's your big?
The big
fun
kind of overarching whatever about this. Basically everyone was talking about their characters. I'm gonna go into, we'll talk about this more later, but I was like, we're going into a really scary place and a horror place. We probably need a healer. And I've never been a cleric. So this was about me learning too. Like this was a big learning experience for me. And yeah, and that was fun. And the fun thing is just getting to be with these amazing players. Like these are some of the best storytellers. Like it's so easy to make a compelling and likable story, even in something as scary as Barovia. And I'm actually a little bit more like, it's very funny. Our guests were the, let's give you every detail about everything. And I'm a little bit more like Sarah. I was like, this is Mavic. She's a hobgoblin. Shit went down.
No, Mavic's got some cool.
She's got some stuff. Yeah.
She's got some cool stuff waiting in the wings that I'm sure will come out more. And I've got cool plans for Mavic, that we're gonna be a little hamstrung with the 3 episodes we had remaining, but now that I probably will extend it a little bit longer. I guess that's the other big takeaway for me. There was a point like about 3 weeks ago after we did episode 6, after the big fight, I think it was, and I was like, man, I wish I could just take these fuckers on a journey. I wish this was just like a regular campaign and I could just like give them each arcs in their own little like section of Barovia, which we can still do that, but we'll do a few more episodes than was originally planned, and we'll get there, because that's a great thing about Curse of Strahd. I don't know if you guys know this. People play it in one night sometimes. Mm-hmm. There's like people who marathon it like over like 12 hours. It's like a weird cultish following thing where they like I think it's like Halloween's or something. I don't know. Go see Rocky Horror Picture Show and then just play Curse of Strahd for a day. And then there's other people that have been playing for like years.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. And one of our very special guests, Courtney, what are your big thoughts? Big feels. Summaries.
Big feels for patience. She doesn't know what that means, man. No. honestly, I
Evelyn
think
would
you.
quite disagree.
Shh. I'm not prepared for that yet. I think you did hit the horror aspect of things, but you hit the slow creep of it, which is something a little, as a horror fanatic, the slow creep is what sticks with you. That's what makes you like think days after, and you're like, it's something's watching me. So I think you absolutely hit horror themes that I genuinely appreciate. Wow. I don't know, you paid a lot of attention to like detail and like characterizing the environment. So at least for me, like a lot of the scenes that you were describing, like they feel emotional in different ways, which I think is really fucking cool. Yeah, it was really special to be able to like play here. I don't know if anybody could tell, but like I'm a super anxious individual. Anyway, but it was just, I don't know, you get into it and then you're in the story and you're able to like drop everything else, which is really, really fun. And these amazing players just bring something different, each and every one of them. Like, I want to learn so much from everybody. And I don't know, it was cool. I don't know if I answered your question, but I feel like I.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what this is. It's a formless question that is like,
Great.
Get it out. But I do want to say I'm really glad that you got the slow burn part, because that was kind of what so there was two big hangups with me with doing this horror thing, right? Which is, one, I'm not actually a huge horror fan. I like gothic horror. I like gothic literature horror, right? Like mostly from its like original stuff, but there's some modern stuff. Mexican Gothic is a really good example of that, right? But that goes to my background, which is literature. I went to USC for creative writing, and so as a lit background guy, I come to TTRPGs with that, like, that's how I tell stories, right? That's what I want to do. So the idea of the like, you slow build, and then there's the like, as opposed to like 2/3 of the act being the slow build, I feel like with a lot of these horror, like in, for example, even Dracula, right? It's really only the last like 3 chapters where 90% of the action happens. Other than that, it's like a letter. It's literally a letter campaign. And then the other thing, a little bit related to gothic horror around the same time, right? Romanticism. U.S. lit romanticism makes you fall in love with the environment to distract you from what's happening with the plot, and that is 100% what I try to do to you guys. Is get you like, oh, you're here, and then it's like, oh, fuck, this is happening. So yeah, I'm glad that was picked up on. Bastion. Fucking goddamn it! I'm gonna get your name right.
You're getting it right now, but in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's a compliment because you embody your character so well. Remember, I used to call you Chris all the time too.
Yeah. Yeah, which is what we play. My character in Lantern Cove.
Shout out
game.
Lantern Cove.
The link will 100% be
in.
Will
be there.
We're linking
find
that
it
shit
everywhere you can find podcasts.
Yeah,
it's great.
No, this is a very nebulous question. It's like, hey, Bastion, how?
Much like Slippy, it's hard to contain.
Yeah, it is,
but not very hard to enjoy.
Hey now.
I quite enjoyed and have been enjoying this game. I came in with Oddwood because I wanted to play a happy-go-lucky character that would have that attitude challenged, kind of in a way of like, what if you dropped a shonen protagonist right into a horror game and had to challenge all of their belief structure? That is another anime reference. Yeah.
I was nodding and I was like,
it's a genre.
I don't know what the fuck.
It's a genre.
It's a genre.
Ronin or shonen?
Shonen.
It means boys.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look
It's-
this up later.
Yeah.
I
Um,
goddamn.
and I've enjoyed a lot of the kind of breathing room that we've had to develop our characters and to develop them on our terms, as well as the challenges that you've presented them. I think it's very difficult to make a written module be character driven, and this has definitely felt that way, the way that you've woven the stories together. I think that's been my favorite part, and that's something I'm working on as a DM right now, and trying to get better at, and so I'm like paying particular attention to it. And I think it's something that you did really well, and it makes me really excited every time we get together to be like, ooh, like I want to flesh out Oddwood just a little bit more. I want to add some new thing. I want to challenge his morality or his beliefs. I want to like put him through the ringer and see if he can come out on the other side just as strong, right? And I've really enjoyed that opportunity.
Just give him a little bit more flesh too, because he's
Yeah.
missing some of that.
Just missing a bit of flesh. Yeah.
Yeah, I am very obviously like self-conscious or like insecure about my DMing skills because they're babies. But you guys hitting on all the things I was like trying to do makes me feel very good. Because I was truly like, that was another part. Like I love, like Lara is one of my favorite DMs, and my original DM did this too really, really well. My virgin DM, the one who took my virginity as a role player.
Mm,
Yeah,
No.
he gave me
Both.
my first die.
All of it. Yeah.
No.
He gave me my first die. It is the idea of like taking your background, your backstory, and being like, cool, it's part of the lore now. Thank you for the gift. I'm gonna fuck you with it. And so Oddwood was a really Oddwood's such a cool character too. You guys came up with and have been developing these characters that are all so fucking cool. Oddwood's probably the one I would like to hang out with the most, though.
You'd get tired of explaining references to Mavic 100%.
Yeah, I'd 100% be like, oh, okay, cool, Mavic, I get it. Yep, it's like Borat, but less funny.
She's not.
and
She's
then-
just trying to make it
And with
through, man.
Kruntel, I'd just be
the
worried that
best.
they were gonna steal stuff from me.
That's
I
fair.
worry about that shadow.
Jesus, yeah,
That
the
is-
But
shadow-
Patience might buy you stuff, so
Yeah, it's true. But only if she likes me. If not, she's gonna
I
destroy
don't
my
think-
life in like a
Do
Pretty
we
Little
think Patience
Liars
would like
True.
David?
way.
I
David
think
Robles?
Patience would
Here's-
like David.
That's true.
Here's the thing. Patience actually likes pretty much everybody until you give her a reason not to.
You guys would connect over writing.
That's true.
You guys could vibe on
We
that
would
level.
we could also talk about the ways in which you pull social levers to get what you want. But that's a conversation for a different time. Let's move on to we had talked so much about them already. But Bastion, if you just want to keep going, about what was your inspirations, ideas for Oddwood, anything
Yeah.
else you want to tell the crew, the gang, the viewers?
Yeah. So my initial concept, like I said, was like, what if we dropped this like happy-go-lucky character, and like with this idea of like kind of this flappable optimism into a horror world, and like would that survive to the end of Strahd as they like peel back layer after layer after layer of horror and awful and bad? Would they still be able to maintain that sort of youthful optimism? So that was the core of the idea. And I took ideas from a few different places. One is the Wetzel from Coffin Run, who I
I love their
absolutely
pretzels.
love and stole a lot of like vocal direction
Oh
from
yeah.
for
that
my
now.
character. Loved Wetzel, so I pulled a lot from him, and then I pulled a lot from honestly just Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. It's such a juicy, flavorful book that just like reading through it, I'm like, oh, like I would love to have more in Mordenheim. I'd love to have like a little finger in like Bloodspur. I'd love to have like this, and this, and pull together pieces from Van Richten's that I thought sounded fun into this like stew, right? Yeah. And I've played a Hexblood. I've not played a Reborn. So I'm like, okay, Reborn. That sounds dope. Let's start there. And then I was like, okay, what if you made like a physical actual embodying of this like happy-go-lucky versus evil world with this symbiote dark gift? Like I knew I wanted a dark gift. What did I want? I bounced a few around in my head. That one felt like a good manifestation of the core concept that I wanted to explore. So I pulled that in, and then pulled the class Artificer because I knew it was going to be a tactically difficult game. And Artificer is my favorite class, especially as tanks, because they're one of the, I think, best like support tank mixes to give both utility and actual tankiness. So pulled that purely from like a tactical standpoint, and also I just love Artificers. Like
Yeah, I think
Artificer's my favorite.
I think they're probably really only a little bit, well, probably a lot behind, honestly. Druids as far as utility in
Right.
problem solving, right? Because it's hard to beat wild shape.
It's so hard.
I turn into a mouse and squeeze through the door. Yeah. I think the your gifts. Ooh, that's what we can talk about. That's what I want you all to talk about your gifts. That was also a gift to me because it really allowed me to help. Because I want part of, for me too, part of horror is, particularly gothic horror, is what the fuck is going on for 70% of what you're reading or watching, right? It's like, wait, who is actually, what is, and so I wanted to put you guys in that blender, right? Of like, wait, is he actually super bad? Is he just kind of bad? Is like, what the fuck is going on, and who's on whose side and with what? But that's also something I can't help because of the political drama
Yeah.
part of me that just like can't help but insert class struggle into everything because that is the only struggle that matters. But yeah, thank you for Ink, because Ink helped me be able to give you something of a like DMNPC for me, DMPC for me to be like, hey, without being too involved with the like actual gameplay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Gave you Ink to drive me and Slippy to traumatize me.
Yeah,
The
but
gruffest
you
New
guys,
Yorker.
oh man, Slippy's rough right now. Slippy's having a hard time.
Oh yeah.
She got her cell walls ripped out. Courtney,
Yeah.
tell us about patience. You already mentioned a little bit. You're, or no, maybe that was before we were recording.
That was before we were recording.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think like everybody had kind of like put ideas forward about what they were gonna do. And I was like, okay, just like we've got our our main healer, we've got our sneak, we've got our tank. And I was like, well, we're kind of lacking something in like the charisma persuasion area. I was like, okay, I'll brave it, I'll go bard. But what I think really had kicked off the embodiment of patience was David put our like requirements, or like he's like, these are the things you're allowed to have. I completely misread it, and there was like so much shit, and I was like, oh my god, a nepo baby, me? So then that led to Domfir, because if you're in Barovia and you're a nepo baby, you're a vampire baby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wanted them juiced because I wanted them to have
A chance.
a chance. Well, yeah. Well, because look, right? Sure, low-level battles can be hard, but nobody wants to see a wizard die to a goblin. right? That's not what we're fucking here for. And Courtney, just a little bit misunderstood. It was like this many uncommon, this many rare, or one, whatever, right? And she was like, all? Okay.
Yes.
And I kind of
Everything?
had to be
Same
like,
thing.
hey, Court,
Yeah.
this is insane. That character is awesome, but would absolutely fuck my shit up.
Yeah.
And you guys already almost did a couple times. God, it was so hard doing a horror campaign when I couldn't surprise you in combat.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Because it was
definitely.
Maven had alert,
Alert.
right? And then Bastion.
Oddwood has a whip of
Oddwood.
warning
Whip
that's
of
just
warning.
my it's my symbiote instincts.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
So there was some of the mechanic stuff for patients when it came to like character or like race, class, all that stuff. Then bled a little bit into like who she was. And I typically build my characters from their history first. So I don't know who they are. I know where they come from first. So like I had Patience's family figured out before I really figured out who she was, which is something I've done in a campaign for Laura. Like she can attest that I've given full family trees for generations.
It's my
I don't
favorite.
have a problem. Yeah. And then I was like really struggling how to figure out where I was going to give her the momentum. So like I had gone through a different couple places, like where I think she was coming from. And then I think I changed it day of where she was coming from. So originally, I can't remember where it was. We ended up being like, she's originally from de Montlieu, which one of the hallmarks for it, so sorry, I'm going to spoil it for you, is imposter syndrome, which if I didn't play it outright, that is a deep-seated feeling throughout everything Patience does and thinks and feels about herself. But Bastion actually gave just like a, hey, what if we're all at the carnival? And then that just spurned momentum for her. Like it brought up a whole different character that's in her backstory that we've touched on a little bit. It brought up like Evelyn for her. And things just started to like domino pile and fall into place for it that way, which was really cool. And I think I wrote it at like 2 a.m. and there was probably so many typos in it. I felt like I might have been drunk. I wasn't, but like that sleep deprived, I'm writing and this is so good, but God, I need to edit this before I send it to somebody, and I never did. So thanks for putting up with all the typos, David.
Hey,
Yeah.
who the fuck cares, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Patience is Patience was the best. I was trying to figure out a way, because most of the book is written with the idea that you guys come from you're already adventurers. It's supposed to be one of those like you're already in Faerun or the like what are they called, the Far Realms somewhere, and like all the adventure hooks are all like, oh, like somebody comes to you with like a mysterious letter for an invitation and they want you to deal with a werewolf problem, and then you realize you're stuck, or like you run into like a thief who says whatever, right? And then you end up like in Vistani or something like that, right? And so I was like, how am I going to get them into this adventure? And Patience's background was the best catalyst it's the closest connection to Strahd, right?
Sorry, I inflicted Strahd on everybody.
Yeah.
Oopsies.
I
No,
felt
it's right
sorry. There
the
was
whole time.
times, legitimately, you're talking about the imposter syndrome thing, right? And as someone too that like consistently suffers from like, should I fucking be here?
Yes, is the answer. By the way. Anyway, go on.
I there was moments where I was like, am I being mean? Not to Patience. Am I being too mean to Courtney? Like, is this like I was like, because I really wanted to, like, my whole as a DM to inflict the horror on the character Patience was burst the bubble that this girl who thinks she knows everything is now in the real world, and then also this person who thinks that they can just do whatever the fuck they want has real consequences.
Yeah. You've like Patience had a pretty decent concept of who she thought she was in the world. I don't think she ever thought she was like, she's not stupid. Like, she knows that she wasn't well loved, but she always, I guess, kind of had the hope that, like, well, if people got to know me, they'd probably be okay with me.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
No, but you took
It's really good.
the everything about her DNA and tore it and then rearranged it on her. And she's not sure what it looks like. She's a mess.
Speaking of tearing things apart, Mavic, tell us about Mavic.
Yeah. The class came first because I was watching everyone talk about their character ideas, and I said, we probably need a healer, huh? And that's what I tend to do when I'm doing character creation. I tend to wait and see what everyone's doing, and I try to fit myself in to be a utility player, which I'm cool with. I think that's like the DM in me. Like, I was like, I'll be whatever, because I've always been everything. So, and then every character I've ever created has always started from a storytelling standpoint. I am not a min-maxer. I don't care about power gaming. I just care about a good story. So, and I was like, I don't want to play something. I want to play something that I want to play a dichotomy. So it's a healer. I want to play something monstrous. So I threw around a lot of things. So Hobgoblin is obviously where I landed, but I was looking at bugbears. I was looking at a lot of like goblinoid things because they've got such a bad rap. And they've got a really bad rap just in general through the history of D&D. Like, they started off as like, this is not a playable character. This is always going to be a monster that you fight. And I like that there's now a shift into making them more likable. Goblins are, they're cute and they're fine. But as you guys saw in Gillyton with Snips, goblins are the best. And then Bastion handed me the best gift ever, which is, he said, who wants to kill me? And I said, I got you. And that, because that really, I was like, okay, how did this hobgoblin, which for anybody who doesn't know, I did a lot of looking into what a hobgoblin society is, and it's very militaristic and it's very strict on rules and military. So how did this very strict military creature leave and become a cleric? Like, because that's wild. And also, what kind of cleric? Like, who is this going to be? And again, much research, and then I found the Far Wanderer, Celestian, who no one knows about, by the way. It's great. Like, everyone's like, who is this? And I'm like, never mind, it's fine. You'll find out. But yeah, it's like, that was the perfect catalyst. And also perfect catalyst for my dark gift, which is I'm basically a fucking werewolf. So, but instead of turning into this lupine character, I just become a very fucked up bestial version of myself. And there's, as was alluded to in some flashbacks, this is a thing that, like, even the hobgoblins are like, whoa. Like, that's not cool. This is weird. And listen, I didn't mean to make basically a Jester from Critical Role season campaign 2, but I kind of did with that voice. But it's also, the personality of Mavic happened day one. I was like, well, because our session 0, that was not Mavic. Like, the Mavic that I played before in our little before getting ready time, she was a hobgoblin. So she was still in here. And then I got to the carnival, and I was like, oh, hey guys, what's up? So she came fully formed literally as I was session 1. You guys saw me figuring her out. But she's a little, like, also, by the way, I'll never pick true Travis Williams style, not romanceable. No feelings for anybody, because she's a hobgoblin and everyone else is kind of humanoid, and she doesn't, like, not compatible. And then fucking Patience.
Everything's compatible in my world, to be clear.
Andre, sorry, baby. Sorry.
Andre, I'll wait. I'll lay in wait for my chance.
No, I don't
Andrej,
like
no.
it. No, he will wait
Welcome
lying
to the
naked
Andrej
like a
show.
dog. He ate Kruntel's hands, you guys.
He was forced to. He was being forced to be kind of a cannibal.
Kind of.
Um,
But yeah, it's
Yeah.
there's just a lot of I'm really loving playing this character growing up. Like she's becoming like she's like figuring out how to be a being, how to be a person, which is just the best for my little storytelling soul. So yeah, that's Mavic.
yeah. See, I think the big difference. We have like very similar philosophies. Funny how we ended up doing this together, right? About character creation, right? And about I too often am like, I have so many fucking character ideas in my head that I'm just like, okay, what's everybody else doing? I'll fill the party need. Um, Usually with a charisma based uh, 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 class, but yeah. So from where you go from like, I don't care about whatever, right? My thought process was like if I was doing what you were doing, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I'll be like this background, and I'll do this, and like that'll be cool. And then comes the min maxing part. That's where we divert. And then comes like, okay, what's the most optimal race, monstrous race to be a cleric? Okay, big, heavy armor. Uh Bugbear with the cleric, bugbear with a long arm, pole arm master,
Right.
and he just casts what's it called? The one Spirit
Spiritual
Guardians.
Guardians.
Yeah.
That's like
No.
I literally thought of that while you were talking. I was like,
Yeah.
that's what I would do. And
Yeah.
that bugbear cleric would absolutely wreck the shit out of that front line. And now it's gonna happen.
But then we wouldn't have cute things like, hey, what does this spunk mean? What is spunk?
Yeah.
We're missing
Yeah.
out. Bugbear wouldn't say that. He would know.
What is? Well, I guess you already talked a lot about. So let's use that transition because we talked a little bit about how Kruntel kind of wasn't really didn't have too much other than like he was born with a weird little shadow thing, and you filled him out a lot in the campaign. So talk to me now about how Kruntel's journey in the campaign and how you feel about that, and what's the
Well,
how do you feel about where Kruntel started versus where he is, and where do you want him to go? That's the
yeah.
question.
So Krundle came from two places. He came from one, back when I was a teenager, I played the Ravenloft module from back in the time, and I played a Deep Gnome Thief Illusionist. And so I was like, I'm going to play a Deep Gnome and the closest thing, which is like an Arcane Trickster. And two, you talked about when you started the game, wanting to explore the nature of monstrousness, of being a monster, of what that is. And so I took the dark gift of the shadow to literally give him a dark side and make him like wonder, am I the monster? And funnily enough, when he got in, I intended it to be sort of a am I a monster, am I not sort of thing. But what actually happened was he saw people being so monstrous that he's at this point he's just got this like moral compass that where he's like he's not worried anymore about being a monster because he knows what a monster is now. And that's been I feel like that's been his primary arc, was going from this sort of needy creature that is haunted by his own shadow to this tightly connected creature that has a very solid sense of self. And that happened rather fast, actually.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's like an interesting contrast, which I consistently say, right, that like contrast and friction is what makes stories go. And there's this beautiful one between Kruntel and Patience, right? Which is like Kruntel came in very like I'm just kind of here to solve this problem because it's like the one problem I have, and it's like ruined so much for me, and like all this stuff, right? And I don't even know, like, is it a part of me and blah, 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 right? And there's like all this insecurity and comes in as like, nope, nope, I know who I am. Fuck these guys. Fuck them all. cleanse the land of evil. Crundle's about to fucking multi-class to paladin. And then Patience is the opposite, right? Patience is like well established as a writing career, of note. Has a very, like in that first episode, right? She just flits through the camp, tells the what was formerly Sergey and is now Vlad, that Oddwood won't be doing any chores, right? And just kind of like runs her own thing within it, and is now like on the road. Couldn't talk their way out of the werewolves, right? Like was mystified-ish and stumped by Madame Ava to the point where she just insulted her and left, right? Like there's just like all the tools and the things that the firm footing that Patience thought she had is like sort of slipping as Cruntle maybe just uses her face to step up in his own life. But yeah, and to the point where he was willing to pay his hands for it, right? Because if he was going to die, he was going to die with dignity, and he was going to die with Carol knowing exactly how he fucking felt about him.
Oh, yeah.
And so that leads us into the next thing, which is like favorite moments. What's the like, oh my fuck, why did you do that? Or like for me, I'll tell you, I was legitimately nervous. I'll start so you guys can think about it. I was so scared. I was legitimately nervous editing the battle with Ragnar. I like editing the battle. I knew what happened at the end, and I was still like, fuck. Hope they make it. And that's such a credit to you all. But that was where I was. That was to me. That was. I was trying to. Okay. It's real now. Now the danger is fucking real. And it put a little bit of that fear into you. Yeah, I didn't want, to be clear, I don't want to kill any characters, right? Especially in like a shorter campaign. Nobody should have to fucking start over or have some weird stuff.
It's a pleasure to kill. No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I thought particularly Patience was essentially one die roll. If that dragon would have decided to go attack a prone, unconscious Patience, over. And I would have had to figure something out. And but yeah, so that for me, that was the big moment that I was like, oh fuck, did I do too much? Oh, and the nat 20s by Slippy like fully fucking saved you. Ragnar was gonna absolutely obliterate Oddwood, and between Bane again with Patience and Slippy's crits, yeah, that we had one big one at the end when she used Sharpshooter, did something like close to 60 damage in a turn, or else it was gonna be rough. But yeah, go. Yeah, let's just Sarah. Start with Sarah.
Yeah. My brain has gone blank, and I've forgotten where we were.
Oh, big moments.
Big moments. Yeah, I gotta go.
Like you're the thing that you're gonna like.
Yeah, and mine is easy, and it is the clear defining moment of getting his hands fucking chopped off, because he was. Once that happened, he now knows that like nailed in this notion that he is in an unjust world and has to make it more just, because there's no fair or right world in which this could happen. So now he knows. He knows his place in the world, and so that's a big character moment for me.
Cool. Yeah. And Lara.
I'm having to like go to my notes to like remember names. No, the thing that like really hits me is the conversation with that other fucking cleric that led to the totem of gore.
Mm.
Going into the woods and just being like, lower your fucking voice. And and just being like, all right. And then it leading to that. I think that was very much that was a horror moment for Laura, who also doesn't like this. Who I'm not a horror person at all, but I support my friends. So like I was like, I'm here, I'll do it. But yeah, that was really a moment. I was like, well, and this is how it is. Like, you don't shut up, you get turned into the name of a really, really cool Swedish metal band.
Barbarians applies.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Courtney.
It's a little bit hard to find a favorite moment because a lot of them were really like good, really good. Bravo, David. Honestly, so I think if I'm thinking for what maybe highlighted things a little bit for Patience was, number one, the whole thing with Madame Ava was rough. Like, it was really confronting for her in ways that she just couldn't handle. That was really cool. Then that last episode, everything with Esmeralda, that was really shitty for her in a lot of different ways. It was really, really shitty for Patience to try and wrap her head around. And that was like a really cool, like, that's something that's going to be internalized for when we bring everything back. Like, that's going to come up again for her in
Yeah,
in ways.
Esmeralda will be will feature heavily in the next arc. Cool. So yeah, you'll have every chance to
Amazing.
play that out if you want. Yeah, and Bastion.
Yeah, I agree with Courtney. It's really hard to kind of pick a single moment. I think the most impactful moment was when I found out that Streamlabs flips my camera.
Stream,
Fucking
Yeah.
StreamYard.
Yeah,
don't
StreamYard,
dude.
sorry.
They're gonna cancel our stuff. I'm just
They're
kidding.
They can't.
Cancel
I
it.
pay them good money for that shit.
So for the first like 4 episodes, I'm just looking off into the nothing at the edge of the screen
It is kind of funny.
the whole time.
It's kind of funny.
That's
though.
way Oddwood, though.
That's very odd one.
Yeah, it feels. Yeah.
No, I mean,
Feels
Oddwood had a lot of big moments. The proposal, the thunder wave at Hrangnir's, the torture from the twins, right?
For me with Oddwood, it's either the magic missile,
Finger blasting, man.
Finger
that was
blasting,
fucked
Finger
up.
blasting
Hrangnir to
Ragnar, or the proposal. Like that whole was, yeah. You're an incredibly talented role player, and
thank you.
was
No,
it was just great. Yeah, it was just really great to feel like in a moment being like, oh, this is where we're doing it. This is where we're going. And there was like a mind meld. Like we felt like there was the pauses were great. It was all, yeah. I just wish I was like an actual composer and could make like specific music for that moment.
right. But I think I did like those moments, but I think my favorite moment was actually episode 1, getting jostled around by the twins, because I think that is I feel the very characteristic Oddwood moments of very intentionally letting a thing happen to him because it brings someone else joy, and then from there that leading to exploring the relationship with Kruntel, with Patience, right? I think that's my favorite, and I think my the platonic form of Oddwood is in that moment.
Nice. Okay, last question. And this one is for you all to me, and you all get one question. But you have to be careful about it, because if you ask plot questions wise, I'm gonna give you a casting bones, right? woe or wheel. I'm going to be very vague or just straight up tell you I can't answer that. So you only get one question of clarification or like, well, what was this supposed to be? Or
Do we win in the end? So-
what is winning in a world like Barovia?
Does
your
capitalism
question?
win?
Yeah, so anybody
Capitalist is the bad guy.
can ask.
I don't want to know.
Start.
What is your biggest takeaway coming into this is your first time DMing? What is the thing that surprised you the most that you're like, wow, like now I know?
Great question. Your tabletop RPGs are largely just fancy plagiarization, right? Everything's everything is a like Frankensteinian retooling, retelling of some other story or some other system or some other whatever. And so your favorite DMs, your best DMs, their practices and the things that made you enjoy those games, just copy them. Just do what they did. And you'll find the way that works for you. That was the biggest for me, was just like emulate the behavior, and then you'll find what's comfortable and what actually works for you. Yeah, that was the biggest one. Yeah, because there's so many like little things, right? Like I talked about, like letting you guys letting you guys like take the forefront more, feeling out like the balance of letting a pause go or like too long, when to sort of in character be a dick to one of your characters or not, right? Or like what's that kind of stuff is all just like situational. You all figure it out, right? But the number one thing I figured is just like people are successful for a reason. Take it from them. Yeah, great question. Yeah, and see, Laura, it doesn't have to be about the plot. I was just telling you, if you ask about that, I can't be super specific. Yeah, and then whoever wants to go next.
I want to know what's something that you were worried about when coming into this that turned out to be a strength of yours.
Ooh, very good question. Well, first I'll tell you something that I came in with that I was worried about and played out as a little bit of a horror show for me in the first place, which is names. I am
fucking worst.
in person. I you know that like those stories where like, oh, my dad called this lady Kathy for 30 years, and at his retirement, she finally told him, my name's actually Katie, or you know what I mean? Like that guy. I'm that guy. I just like, I don't know. It's really bad. People tell me their name, and I immediately info dump it. But so I did that with my own characters. So that went bad. That went poorly, and I've developed systems to help.
Say something nice about yourself.
But
that's the challenge.
The thing that I was worried about that turned out fine was the improv of it. The like, I'm gonna do this and not being prepared for it. I was a little worried. I thought I was gonna have to railroad you all a little bit more. And one, you guys picked up the scent on even some of the like not as obvious stuff pretty good. And then the other part was I just after the first couple times, I will say the one where you took the tent like moments after you found the bodies, I was a little like, whoa, yeah, I guess you do that. That makes sense. Yeah, the improv part of it, I was a little worried about because like as a writer, again, I'm used to write, rewrite, 5 minutes to turn it in, rewrite, turn it in, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's the you're never done. And so I was a little worried about that, but yeah, I feel like it went fine. And who's next?
What is one takeaway that you would give to new DMs
Ooh,
that you've learned from this?
I said this like in session 2 in our little like pre-game, I don't know what to call it, pillow talk or whatever, right? That little like where we just chat
Pillow
in
talk.
our little digital green room.
I thought you were
warm-up.
gonna go like with a rainbow thing, like like leprechaun gold talk or
Oh,
like tossing match to start the rainbow. I don't know.
Nope, it's pillow talk.
Pillow
Pillow
talk.
Yeah.
talk.
pillow talk.
It usually happens at the end, right?
I don't know. I think I said it to you, which was prep matters. You got to prep. You
Yeah.
got to have your frame, your good foundation, know where you want them to go, know what they're going to do if A, B, C, or D, or E. But also, prep doesn't fucking matter. Like, it's gonna like things are gonna go longer than you think. Their players are gonna focus on things you didn't think so. Like the it's all gonna shake out. So just have the good bones, have the good structure, but don't freak out when it doesn't work.
Your
Uh,
stable character will straight up steal a whole ass tent and fold it in on itself,
Yeah.
and you have to make
Well,
a new
the
magical
first
item.
one that I should have been warned about was when they were like, "I want to go into tree roots and loot the body." Fuck, that's hardcore.
Krunzel was out of pocket, and I'm very, very happy that I got to see Sarah be that.
But yeah. Just sort of a great DM once said, "Prep worlds, not storylines."
I heard of that DM.
Who just typed
He's
it in the chat?
Great. He's the
Um,
best DM.
Yeah.
Incredible DM.
And Courtney, last one.
Oh gosh, I don't know. Is there anything that, because we're gonna have a bit of a hiatus,
Mhm.
that you're hoping to do differently when we come back?
Yes. So one, like I said, I want to extend the storyline a little bit. I want to give
Mhm.
you all a little bit of time in some other places. I have, because there was a couple times where I was trying to prep worlds, where I was like, how do I flesh out these cities? And what do these domains look like? And so I was a big Magic the Gathering player for a couple of years. And one of my favorite settings is a gothic horror setting. A lot of my fellow nerds will maybe be familiar with, which is Innistrad. Yeah, see, now I get to make the references that you don't understand.
I also
No,
don't get the
I
anime
understand
ones.
Strahd. In a Strahd, that
Yeah, Innistrad. It's don't look it up on Pornhub.
With a Strahd.
I'm just kidding. It's also a WotC product. I'm sure they haven't done a
Rule
crossover
34. You can't say shit on the internet. Rule 34, man.
because what's the one? Strixhaven. Strixhaven was originally a MTG setting, and they did a crossover. And Innistrad would be like the perfect setting to do that, but they can't because Ravenloft is like so close-ish. But I think Innistrad's is better. And there was like one particular stronghold that I was like, I want to do this. So the ability to like flesh out a couple more places, give you guys a little more. We'll probably do another like 8 episodes or so, depending on schedules and that kind of thing, obviously. Whenever we come back, but that'll give y'all some time to really get in it and make this a little bit more epic, a little bit more fleshed out. I'm finding one of the somebody asked takeaways too, right? I'm finding if DMing is only on one line, right? One spectrum. I feel like it's a 3D model, but if you're only gonna do one spectrum and you were gonna put Matt Mercer and Brennan Lee Mulligan on the other, I feel like lore wise, I always want to go more Mercer. Right, which is like just fucking give them more books. I'm gonna write my own books. I want to be like, and then obviously like off that spectrum, way to the even more is Tolkien, who invented a language.
I have a conlang for Infernal that I put together to help my tiefling players make names. So I'm there.
Yeah, we're right there with each other. I think that's why we vibe so hard. Cool. Well, thanks for joining us. That was that. Like I said in the last episode and moving forward, probably won't be back with this story until maybe spring of next year. I'm not really sure. We're not that planned out yet. But when we do, you'll hear. And we're so glad you could join us. Please click the links below, TikTok, Instagram, Bastion's Twitch channel, Courtney Interrupted Art, all the stuff. And let's talk.
Join the Discord.
Join the
Come
Discord.
through to the Discord.
Cool.
well-
Yeah. We love you. Bye.
And also come back next week for the trailer for
That's right.
Cam's campaign.
Cam's campaign. TP. I'm
And,
kidding. Actually, I think it's
that'll be
called
starting in 2 weeks.
Phantasmagoria or something.
Phantasmagoria. We can leak that. So, but yeah, you'll be seeing episode 1 of that in 2 weeks.
It's not really
That's a
a
very
week,
Cam
but next
name
week. It's a
already.
week. Well, I get
We have not
that.
said it out loud,
Just
so it's
depends.
kind of a leak.
It leaked out right out of my mouth. Bye.